أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. So this is our second discussion. In the first one, we were discussing the Ismi Allah, in the name of God. What does it mean? And I was making an intro last week saying that inshallah, we will try to establish a methodology, so there might be some repetitive reminders over the course of weeks. So what we are in general trying to establish is, I am now as a human in this existence. I have some senses, feelings, intellect, whatever. And then I want to understand what's going on in here. So what I have is all those tools that are given to me. By making use of them, I'm trying to find my way in the existence. So I will make use of some guidance in this path. So we were talking about what guidance really means in this sense. And we were giving the example of, let's say, I have a map. And somebody says, art museum is in such and such place. Given the map to my hand, I wouldn't say, I bear witness that art museum is in such and such place, because I just have a map. I don't know if it's a true map or if it's a liar's map. I have no clue. So in order to be able to make sure I get to there, I verify truthfulness of it, and then I say, yes, now I am sure this map is a true map and the art museum is in such and such location. So this being a general motivation, so we started saying Qur'an, which is claiming to be a guide for humanity, starts with saying in the name of God. But what does that even mean, in the name of God? So this was the topic of discussion last week. To give just a very quick reminder, what we discussed was, we were given the example of, so it means acting in the name of Creator. But what does that mean? And a very quick example would be, somebody gets into this room, or let's give it a bigger example. Somebody, a single person, comes to a city. We are an outside observer. And we see that this person is migrating the whole city from one place to another. And we say, well, single person migrating 1 million people. There's something awkward going on in here. If this person was acting on his own name or on his own power, people would say, who are you to say us to leave the city? They are outnumbering, outforcing that person, so very easily can overcome. But since this is not the case, single person moving them out, then that means this person is acting on somebody else's name, maybe in the name of government. From an outside observer, this would be our conclusion. But when we look at the existence, so we observe that you put a seed into the soil, and then you see that sun, clouds and rain, earth, everything is as if, and also the earth by rotating around and being tilted, everything is working in order to fulfill the needs of this small seed. Because it is beyond the capacity of the seed to have power over sun, have power over clouds, or receive water all the way from the ocean. So that means it's acting on behalf of somebody's name. It's not really acting by itself. It is not the seed that is really getting out of the soil, becoming a plant. And we were increasing number of examples on those lines, saying that how much am I aware of what I can do? For example, I'm moving my hands. This was one of the examples. I don't know which muscles I am moving. I don't know what sort of chemical reactions are happening from my neural system to my muscles, anything, no idea. The only thing I know is I want to move my hand, and the hand moves. So what does that mean? That means by just doing this simple action, my body says in the name of the Creator. So it acts in the name of the Creator. Somebody else is acting in here. It's not me who is doing all the things that's happening in between. Only part I do, I will. Other than willing, I have no control. We were increasing number of examples like that. Then this was both a starting point, like first week, but also a summary. It's really the matter in a nutshell. This is how we concluded last time. We said that actually the whole existence is acting in the name of God, as if they continuously speak Bismi Allah. In all actions we observe that they say Bismillah. And then the author was coming back to ourselves and saying that, how about me then? What am I going to do in this existence? He was saying that this was the very conclusion part of last week's discussion. I should start saying Bismillah in the name of Allah, which is the practice of Rasulullah ﷺ. The Prophet was starting all the actions by saying Bismillah. It's a reminder for me to say that apparently I am moving my hand. I will remind myself that it's not me doing the job. I am just willing. More than willing, it's not my part. So remind yourself when starting an action. And at the end of the action, again, it's a prophetic practice to say, Alhamdulillah, all praise be to God. So it's not like as if you're a heavy lift, let's say, lifter. What would you say? Oh, I am so strong that I lifted this much, right? You are praising yourself. Alhamdulillah means if there is anything praiseworthy in lifting this much of weight, it doesn't belong to me. And this makes sense because I don't even know how I am moving my hand, let alone I am lifting, I don't know, 200 kilos or something. So Alhamdulillah means whatever is praiseworthy in here belongs to the one who is doing all the action. I just will. More than willing doesn't belong to me. And in between is contemplation. So I start with Bismillah to condition myself. In between, until the end, I am contemplating what's going on in here. Is it me who is doing that? Does it happen by itself? Is it the DNA that makes the tree grow? All those questions in between. And at the end, I come to conclusion that Alhamdulillah, whatever is praiseworthy in between that I observed, let it be a beautiful butterfly, a beautiful fruit, whatever, belongs to the one who is not here. He is not the DNA, he is not the plant, he is none of them. But he exists, he must exist, otherwise this would never happen. So this was in another sense, it was a summary. So last week was both an introduction and a summary of the whole thing. And in the traditional scholarship says, Bismillah is really the seed of Qur'an, it's a summary of Qur'an. Just one verse, beginning of Qur'an, but also the whole summary of the Qur'an. So this was last week. And inshallah, this week we are moving towards somewhere, and our second station now is الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. And this is again just a third verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. You open the Quran, first page is Fatiha, second page, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. So they are those who believe in the unseen. What does it mean? Belief in the unseen. What does it mean? Does it mean that I hope something like that should exist? I don't see it, but they say so. I don't see, I don't experience, but no way to verify anyway. So let's hope that he exists. Or if I don't accept, I'm going to, they say, burn in the hell. So I better accept. Is it the sort of a thing, or is it something else? So we will try to understand this very basic, fundamental concept, belief in the unseen. Any comments before we start regarding what belief is? Anybody would like to give a try? Because belief has a special connotation in the culture. Like in the secular culture, we have an understanding what belief means, but the description of Quran might be different than that. So let's first start with, what would you say in this society? What does belief generally understood as?
I just wanted to share something. With the book club today, we started with this TED Talk from Karen Armstrong. And in her TED Talk, she talks about belief, right? And she talks about how the way that we think about it now, it's sort of like a set of things that you say you want to say believe it, like a set of truths or something like this, is very different than the origin of the word. And the word belief, right? We're talking about the English word. And she was talking about that the word belief in its origin is actually connected with love and commitment. So it actually has less to do about, okay, a cognitive, I think this is true, as much of a heartfelt devotion. So I just thought that was something interesting. I wasn't aware of.
Good.
But I mean, when we think of Iman and Aman, right, is this idea of also this trusting, right? And this kind of confidence.
So for example, if I say somebody is going to come in 5 minutes, and you say, yeah, this guy looks like he's trustworthy, I believe in what he says, maybe you will expect somebody to come in 5 minutes. This might, I guess, one meaning of word belief that we use in day-to-day language. Right? Do you believe in me? Yeah, I believe in you, as if I trust in you. So, well, what if I'm deceiving you? You can say, well, once upon a time it happens that this guy tricks people. Can happen. So now believe in the unseen. There is something in the unseen, but I believe that it's actually in there. What does that really mean? How does it work? Is it different than wishful thinking? Or there are such questions that come through. But how does Qur'an put it? So, because if we go back to, again, beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, says, this book, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, there's no doubt about it. So it's certain. It's not like might happen sort of a thing. It says it's, for sure, it is reality. And it's a guide for muttaqin. Like the one, let's use the meaning God conscious, or that are, if we go to the real root of the word, they try to avoid something. They try to protect themselves from something. Muttaqin. Then comes الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. The description of those people, the muttaqin, is they believe in the unseen. So if I take it as, those are the people that close their eyes and say, okay, whatever you say is correct, I accept it. Book is already certain. Book says this book is certain. Then if it is certain, why shall I close my eyes and accept it? So we're trustworthy. For example, if you are buying a car and the manufacturer of the car says, this car is a perfect car. Close your eyes and get it. I would say if it is perfect, then you shouldn't be shying away from testing me how good it is. And I will buy it more comfortably if I test it and see that it's really perfectly working. Then I will drive it with full confidence. Otherwise, if I just take it by closing my eyes, I would feel hesitant when I'm driving. Is it going to just, when I'm taking this turn, is it going to flip over? I don't know. Let me try. And also, when scriptures start with saying, this book, which book is that? Is it the scripture itself, which was not a book initially? It was an oral tradition, right? It was not written over a book. Or is he talking about the book of existence out there? It's like a book which is being written. In either case, the author of the book seems to be very certain about what he has in his hands and says there is a guidance in it, so no worries. If you follow the guidance, if you verify its truthfulness, there's nothing that I am shying away from the certainty of this book. So after this introduction, let's get into the text and see what the author, this author is, again, to remind, this is a text from Said Nursi's The Words. The name of the book is The Words, and this is the second chapter of this book. Okay. Muhammad, would you like to read us?
Sure.
So I will stop you. Yeah. Keep reading, I'll stop you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. meaning of God the merciful, the compassionate. If you want to understand what great happiness and bounty, what great pleasure and ease are to be found in belief in God, listen to this story, which is in the form of a comparison. One time, two men went on a journey for both pleasure and business. One set off in a selfish, inauspicious direction, and the other on a godly, propitious way. Since the selfish man was both conceited, self-centered, and pessimistic, he ended up in what seemed to him to be a most wicked country due to his pessimism. He looked around and everywhere saw the powerless and the unfortunate lamenting in the grasp of fearsome bullying tyrants, weeping at their destruction. He saw the same grievous, painful situation in all the places he traveled. The whole country took on the form of a house of mourning. Apart from becoming drunk, he could find no way of not noticing this grievous and somber situation. For everyone seemed to him to be an enemy and foreign. And all around he saw horrible corpses and despairing, weeping orphans. His conscience was in a state of torment. The other man was godly, devout, fair-minded, and with fine morals, so that the country he came to was most excellent in his view. This good man saw universal rejoicing in the land he had entered. Everywhere was a joyous festival, a place for the remembrance of God, overflowing with rapture and happiness. Everyone seemed to him a friend and relation. Throughout the country, he saw the festive celebrations of a general discharge from duties, accompanied by cries of good wishes and thanks. He also heard the sound of a drum and band for enlistment of soldiers, with happy calls of "God is most great," and "There is no God but God." Rather than being grieved at the suffering of both himself and all the people like the first miserable man, this fortunate man was pleased and happy at both his own joy and that of all the inhabitants. Furthermore, he was able to do some profitable trade. He offered thanks to God. After some while, he returned and came across the other man. He understood his condition and said to him, "You are out of your mind. The ugliness within you must have been reflected on the outer world, so that you imagined laughter to be weeping, and the discharge from duties to be sack and pillage. Come to your senses, and purify your heart, so that this calamitous veil is raised from your eyes, and you can see the truth. For the country of an utterly just, compassionate, beneficent, powerful, order-loving, and kind king could not be as you imagine. Nor could a country which demonstrated this number of clear signs of progress and achievement." The unhappy man later came to his senses and repented. He said, "Yes, I was crazy through drink. May God be pleased with you. You have saved me from a hellish state." O my soul,
Let's keep reading. Yeah, let's keep reading.
know that the first man repents an unbeliever, or the first man represents an unbeliever, or someone depraved and heedless. In his view, the world is a house of universal mourning. All living creatures are orphans weeping at the blows of death and separation. Man and the animals are alone and without ties, being ripped apart by the talons of the appointed hour. Mighty beings like the mountains and oceans are like horrendous, lifeless corpses. Many grievous, crushing, terrifying delusions like these arise from his unbelief and misguidance and torment him. As for the other man, he is a believer. He recognizes and affirms Almighty God. In his view, this world is an abode where the names of the All-Merciful One are constantly recited, a place of instruction for man and the animals, and a field of examination for man and jinn. All animal and human deaths are a demobilization, Those who have completed their duties of life depart from this transient world for another happy and trouble-free world, so that place may be made for new officials to come and work. The birth of animals and humans marks their enlistment into the army, their being taken under arms, and the start of their duties. Each living being is a joyful, regular soldier, an honest, contented official. And all voices are either glorification of God or the recitation of his names at the outset of their duties, and the thanks and rejoicing at their ceasing work, or the songs arising from their joy at working. In the view of the believer, all beings are the friendly servants, amicable officials, and agreeable books of his most generous Lord and all compassionate owner. Very many more subtle, exalted, pleasurable, and sweet truths like these become manifest and appear from his belief. That is to say, belief in God bears the seed of what is in effect a tulba tree of paradise, while unbelief conceals the seed of a zaqqum tree of hell. That means that salvation and security are only to be found in Islam and belief, in which case we should continually say, "Praise be to God for the religion of Islam and perfect belief."
Thank you very much. Let's go to the beginning again. So, author is, I guess, trying to explain the concept of belief in the unseen with that story. So within the story are bits and pieces of what belief in the unseen might mean. So just to recap the story. So there are those two people. They are entering into a city. But he gave some description of two people. The first people was very much self-centered. And because of this self-centered perspective of that person, he was seeing the city that he entered in his view, just to underline this word, in his view, he entered to a city which was really chaotic, let's put it this way. The city that he entered was very chaotic. For the other guy, which was, using his words, were devout, he was able to see a very happy environment. So what is then the relation between being self-centered versus fair-minded and seeing the universe either as a chaotic place or a happy place? Do you see the relation between them? If I am self-centered, why shall I see the universe as a very in chaos? Why do you think? Because he said the first man is an unbeliever. So when he came to the truth of the story, he said the first man is an unbeliever, like self-centered person. So let's put down. Self-centered. So he observed the universe as a chaos, and he was the unbeliever. So what's the relation between them? Why a self-centered person would consider the existence to be like a tillage, people are fighting with each other, or might has rights, is such a mentality. If you are strong, you can beat others. When I look at the universe, a self-centered man would say, if you are strong, you win. If you are weak, you are doomed. So you better get strong. So what's the relation in there? And again, this will all boil down to belief in the unseen. Go ahead.
Maybe a disbeliever sees no purpose behind what they see.
Good. And then what's the relation between not seeing purpose in things and being self-centered? Why does a self-centered person doesn't see purpose behind anything?
Maybe like their only purpose is like their own existence or their own interests, so they don't recognize any other purpose.
It's because he has a cynical worldview, and if you have a cynical worldview, you're gonna notice bad things more often.
Mm-hmm. But why is it cynical?
And I think that the self-centeredness is that you want everything to be as you want it to be, right? So you want the world to serve you, and you want things to work out the way that you want them to work out, right? So anything that doesn't work according to what you want will frustrate you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and aggravate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
When you say self-centered, we're meaning arrogant, right?
mm-hmm.
Because on the other hand, if I see the universe or the solar system or the earth centered around me and feeding me, and everything's working perfectly for me, and I'm like in the center of that. That's not arrogance. That's a different subject.
Mm-hmm. So being arrogant, let's put it this way, yeah. I mean, these were very good points. So if I'm arrogant, what does that mean? That means I am by myself. Like I exist not because of anybody else. I exist by myself. This is my perspective. So as you were saying, if I say something is right, then it becomes right. I am the center of everything. There is no other reference point. I am taking myself as the reference point of whatever I say is going to be right. I only care about myself, first and foremost. So if I have such a mindset, if I say that, if I'm arrogant, that means I need to be strong to overcome others, yet same thing applies to all of you. So if you are stronger than me, then you can overcome me as well. So this sort of a worldview, meaning that I am only whatever I am. I am not anything beyond me. And that means everything is whatever I see in there. If I see, as in the story, somebody is weeping or somebody's getting separated, I would evaluate it from my point of view. I would say that, oh, there must be something bad happened to this guy. Because he was taking from the other person's perspective. The other person's perspective was, he was godly. What does godly means? So there is something beyond me. There must exist something beyond what I am observing. To give an example to explain what I mean, and if you can come up with a better example, it's more than welcome. So let's say when you look at this paper, you see some black marks over the paper. Mm-hmm. So what you can say is, somebody just get some sort of a dirt, put it over the clean paper, and made it dirty. You would say this only if you say that these are marks, and these marks are, there's nothing beyond that. I only see ink or dirt over the paper. I don't see anything in there. And for such a view, this paper is ugly, because otherwise it would be white and clean, but now it is dirtied. But if you say, there must be something beyond this ink and paper over here. This must be some sort of, maybe signs, some signatures. So they signify something else, right? Then, if you have such a perspective, you will try to understand what this might be. Because now you are trying to see beyond the paper and ink. Otherwise, you say, simple, it's just dirt. Very simple explanation, if you buy it. Then you will be upset because of the dirtiness of the paper. So likewise, if I take myself as reference point, and I don't know reading, let's say, and I say, to me, this is dirt, then I find myself in a miserable state. But on the other hand, if I say that, no, there must be something beyond that, because it seems to be within an order, just look at it, they are line by line, so there seems to be some sort of a pattern in here. So let me put some effort, try to understand what's going on in here. So, because meaning is unseen in here, there's no meaning over this paper. Can you measure meaning? I can measure the amount of ink over the paper. Can I measure the meaning over the paper? There's no meaning in here, right? So meaning is in the unseen. You don't see meaning. You don't experience meaning directly. But if you know how to read, then you see that there is something beyond this paper. You go to this other, if you like, realm through the paper, but this, if you take it as a two-dimensional surface, there's a third dimension behind this paper, which is the meaning, right? So, but it's unseen for you. Likewise, the existence. I come to this existence and I say, like, it's just a apple tree. Apple tree is a simple apple tree, but what is it? I get the apple, I eat the apple, I'm done with it, I throw the junk away. That's it, right? I'm sad. After 60, 70 years, I'm going to die and become nothing. I was nothing, I will become nothing. Pretty much I am nothing right now. If this is my perspective about myself, self-centered me, then apple tree becomes equally meaningless. Apple tree is also a miserable tree. Butterflies are miserable creatures. They are born, maybe live for a day or two. Beautiful, who cares? After 2 days, they are going to go into junk. Where is beauty here? It's very ugly. If I take myself as meaningless, butterfly also becomes meaningless. So at the very center is, if I am self-centered, and in my world, I am meaningless, I am purposeless, there's nothing in me, this propagates everywhere. I don't see any purpose in anything in the existence. But then what happens? Because he was saying that this guy was seeing everything in existence as in misery, chaotic, and he couldn't find any other option than getting drunk. Because it's an unbearable pain. So, what do you think? Who is getting drunk in this society? What sort of getting drunkenness is? Is it just alcohol? One day. Sometimes people get drunk by drinking alcohol. Actually, I was asking this question a few weeks back to a friend. I said, why are you drinking? Is it like the taste is good? He said, no, I'm drinking to forget the job. Because I don't want to think about the work environment. So I just get drunk and forget everything. Because work environment is apparently a miserable time frame that this person doesn't want to remember. And he drinks. Likewise, maybe there are some other people which are, look at the world, there are a lot of wars happening. Or maybe somebody is going through some health problems, getting old, or parents are passing away, a lot of troubles in life. How do you stand against those troubles in life? And you're going to die eventually, as if grave is waiting in front of you. If you were in the death row, how would you feel? Every day is a pain, right? You are getting closer to this, execution, day by day. What an anxious way of waiting your end. This is what life is, isn't it? If there's nothing beyond this life, if life is consisting of this paper with dirt, if this is how I look at life, it's misery, it's total misery. Alcohol is a solution to some people. To some others, what?
Excessive entertainment.
Excessive entertainment. Working over extra hours. This is another form of it, right? Because we want to busy ourselves. Or why do you think Facebook or those social media is getting more and more users? We want to escape from ourselves. We don't want to stay thinking about anything, right? Busy yourself with somebody else's tweets for 3-5 minutes so that your attention is not focusing on your own misery. Getting drunkenness, right?
Yeah, so this is like a side point, but something else I've noticed about people that drink up excessively is I find it very difficult to speak with them because I feel like they have like slightly underdeveloped personalities. So they're like kind of boring to talk to. And they turn into a completely different person when they're drunk. So like, if you sort of used to drinking a lot, then you become like that.
Might be, but also if this person is seriously troubled with life, let's say,
Yeah.
this is becoming their safe haven. Because in order to forget, and some people's safe haven is working for super extra hours. This is another way of getting drunk. These might be very genius people, super smart, but still working. Maybe I'm not saying that everybody who works extra hours is doing it for that, but working extra hours is a very good way to escape from yourself. Because otherwise you will remember your own misery again and again. And for college students, I mean, the first time I felt getting old was when I hit the age 30 and still didn't do my dissertation. So I said, where's this life going? It was a shock for me. In college days, maybe I didn't recognize this, the agony of death that much. But when I was, the 30 was a mark for me, for example, practically speaking. After such turning points in life, you really start questioning, where is this going to? What's going to happen to me? And if I don't have an answer to that, you really start feeling very much shaken. For example, if I thought that the degree that I'm running after is really what gives me value, then I see that not really. I'm going to die, my degree is going to die with me. And when I see a lot of people having degrees, they are dying, and I'm going to be there in a few years. I will die like them. They don't seem to be happy. This means that when I get there, if the degree was what makes people happy, they should have been happy. So once you start seeing those patterns, and actually once I saw a grandchildren, parents, and grandmother. And the grandmother was on a wheelchair. So this scene was really striking for me. This was again at the same time I was around 30s, beginning of 30s. I said, this is the story of life. Yeah, the child seems to be very energetic, but eventually the child is going to sit on this wheelchair. It's very sorry to look at the person with this, like the skin is not as beautiful as it used to be. And this person, although living, but is it better to live in such a case or die? And if anything leads me to that agony, what's the point of living then? So you start questioning and it becomes all of a pain in general. But this is the case if I am self-centered. I am saying that nothing is meaningful. They are just dirt over the paper. And the existence is like dirt over the paper. So this is why Qur'an mentions ayat, signs. Quran says, we brought signs to you. Everything, the speaker in Quran is a very conscious speaker actually. It says, we brought you several signs in this existence. So apple tree is a sign for you. Death is a sign for you. It's not a dirt over the paper. It has something beyond what you see on the surface. The shapes over the paper have a meaning beyond the shape, beyond the ink. Death has a meaning beyond itself. Unseen. So, يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, belief in the unseen, as far as I understand from this text is, there is something beyond what you see on the surface. So am I going to condition myself to say that, no, there's nothing beyond this existence? What I observe, that's it. Banana is a banana. Banana is not sign of something else. Family is just family. You enjoy family, then family dissolves, or parents die, then you die, then grandchildren die. That's it. There's nothing beyond family. Family is for family. Family is not for something else. So taking the things as a sign means belief in the unseen. Does it make sense? Maybe not. What do you think? Any comments or questions? So I couldn't signals from faces. Was it very abstract or very clear?
Are you saying seeing things as like signs to Allah is part of the unseen?
So I don't want to jump to the conclusion of Allah automatically,
Yeah.
because it's a long journey.
Yeah.
But first of all, when you see this paper, do you say that they are not merely dirt, but they are actually signs to something else? If you get this impression that they are signs to something else, you will get enough motivation to read it or study it, try to understand it. But if they are dirt, you just look at it. And this is, for example, how I feel when I go to art museum. I mean, they say it is art and it's meaningful, but since I am illiterate in terms of art, they are just somebody put some colors over there, and since I cannot understand it, I just 2 seconds pass to the next one. This is how my experience in art museum is, unfortunately. But this is how we do in life. You encounter something in life, you experience something. Let's say something good happens to you. You just enjoy the moment, you pass. You don't think about it. What did that mean really? Let's say I look at this painting in the art museum. Colors are good. 2 seconds, I pass to the next one. Because I don't take it as the painter wanted to deliver a message, some feelings through this painting. I didn't take it as such. Or maybe I knew that painter put some message in there, but I said, oh, come on, who's going to read that? Pass to the next one. Maybe the painter just made some random brush strokes over there, no meaning in there at all. Why bother? This is how we generally do, I generally do in life. When something bad happens, some calamity, what do? I'm going to be patient. I can work on this. Yeah, maybe it's a sickness, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. It passes away, and I say, I defeated the sickness. Did I learn anything out of that? No, because I didn't take it as a sign. Sign means it is there to deliver a message. So for example, signposts in traffic. When you see those signposts, stop sign, for example, what do? You go there and say, red, white, 4 letters, S-T-O-P. Nice. Then you pass by without stopping. Signpost means it points to a meaning. It stays there to signify something else. You don't look at a signpost for itself. You look at a signpost for what it means, what it refers to. Or another example, you are coming from New York to here. On the road it says Philadelphia. Over the signpost it writes Philadelphia. So what do? The signpost itself is not Philadelphia for sure, but it shows the way towards Philadelphia. So if you have an intention to come to Philadelphia, you will know what that signpost is there for. You mean that this points to where Philadelphia is. Oh, this is why they put it here. It's not just a meaningless shapes put over there. It gives me some direction, carries some meaning. So the question is, what does sickness mean, for instance? Or what does death mean? So your grandparents died, grandmother died. It was something sad for the family, maybe hard times. Is it something that, okay, yeah, it's rule of life, this is nature. It was natural for her to die. Sad for her. Is this what it is? Or was it a sign, a message from someone that I should try to read and understand what's happening in here? And if we take it as such, then really the first revelation makes perfect sense. It says, read. It's not simply a dirt over the paper. It's a sign. Sign requires reading. So there is a meaning behind it. Don't take the existence on the surface value. Right? Because otherwise you just This is how we live the life. You live only once. These are like the mottos of this civilization. Enjoy the moment, which are all saying that there's nothing in this existence. Just make most out of your moment. Enjoy as much as you can. Your youth is going away anyway, so try to maximize your joy. It all vanishes. It all goes away from your hand. So try to enjoy as much as you can. And then they say, well, there's nothing else you can do. There's nothing better you can do. Agony of death is always there. No escape. We better try to make most out of it. This is what I was having the conversation with my friend that was drinking. I said, wouldn't it be good if there would be a way for you to no need to forget things, but start enjoying from the things that you're trying to forget? Because you're trying to cover them up with some sort of drunkenness. You're trying to cover it up. What if there would be another option for you, which you will experience the same thing, but you will enjoy it? Wouldn't it be better? Or you're not canceling out your senses, your intellect, anything, yet the very same thing becomes a source of joy for you. It would be awesome. Right? It's what the author in here is suggesting. The two people, actually the two people in the story entering to the same city. One of them, because of his perspective, because of his view, sees everything as if there's a chaos, as if everybody is being tortured or killed, or the strong is doing bad things to the weak. The other one, seeing exactly the opposite. He is seeing that everybody is happy. And actually, there was also an interesting part. For the first guy, so he looked around and everywhere saw the powerless and the unfortunate lamenting in the grasp of fearsome, bullying tyrants, weeping at their destruction. So for everyone seemed to him to be an enemy and foreign. And if you pay attention, these are really the fundamental teachings of the society. Go to a biology department, this is what you will see there, for instance. Strong is the big fish eats small fish, as if there's this fight, constant fight in existence. The other men, so there was this part I would like to mention. He also heard the sound of a drum and band for the enlistment of soldiers with happy calls of God is most great and there is no God but God. He's saying that as if people are joining to an army or being delivered from their military service. What does that mean? So, for example, it's not mandatory in America, but in other parts of the world, military service is mandatory. What they say is, when you are discharged from duty, it's something good for you. You finished your duty, and happily you are not leaving your duty. So he's saying that the second person is observing that there are some discharges from duty, so they are happy. So do I see death as a discharge from duty, or do I see death as execution? So if I take existence as a duty, somebody is trying to, let's say, graduation ceremony. Let's give the example in the setup of a college. Graduation ceremony is something very happy for people. Although they are now leaving campus, but yet it was 4 years of hard work, and now they are stepping into another life. So they are happy with that. It's not that, oh, it's too bad now I'm leaving this campus. Okay, there might be some sort of a feeling like, oh, I liked all these buildings, all these environments, but there's something better waiting me out there. So looking at life with these lenses, these views, is possible if I take this college, for example, as college education is for life outside the college. So college education was not for itself. Nobody studies college for the sake of college itself. You know that there is something beyond college. This is why you are in college. So again, it's like everything that you do in here, all the classes that you take point to something that you're going to face in real life. So they don't point to themselves only. So again, belief in the unseen is actually in practice when you're in college. So the question is, how does this happen when it comes to what is beyond this existence? What does it mean for me to believe in the unseen and act accordingly? Any comments? Maybe questions? It might have been very abstract, so from your faces I cannot read if it is, well, too many words, doesn't mean much, or it means, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I don't know which one it is. Is it good? Kind of. Okay. So I will read from the paragraph again. Let's go back to the story. After some while, he returned. After some while, he returned and come across the other man. So the good friend is now seeing the drunken guy. He understood his condition and said to him, "You were out of your mind. The ugliness within you must have been reflected on the outer world, so that you imagined laughter to be weeping, and the discharge from duties to be sack and pillage. Come to your senses and purify your heart, so that this calamitous veil is raised from your eyes, and you can see the truth. For the country of an utterly just, compassionate, beneficent, powerful, order-loving, and kind king could not be as you imagined, nor could a country which demonstrated this number of clear signs of progress and achievement." So it's very interesting the way that the author is framing it. He's saying that the first person was actually imagining something. Because if you look at the main mindset about what scripture says in the society, as if scripture is wishfully painting the existence in a way that it is not. And in reality, the existence is all misery. And religion, quote unquote, religion tells you to close your eyes, leave yourself to God, be happy. That's why they say, let's be realistic. Don't fool yourself. Come to your life. The truth is, we are all dying. So now the author is saying, actually it's reverse. You are imagining this existence to be dirt over the paper. This is what you're imagining. So to continue from this example, let's say a wise man, ignorant man, I take this, I say that it's just nothing. Nibras takes it, starts saying, oh, this is what he is saying, and speaks talking and gives me a talk of very wise words for 2 hours. And I say, you're making it up. There's nothing in here. It's just dirt. You're imagining this to be something meaningful. It's just some dirt over a white paper. Somebody really made a disgrace to this beautiful paper, made it dirty. How come you say such beautiful things out of that? You're imagining, I would say. The verse would say, no, you are imagining this to be ugly. Such a beautiful thing. How come? Just even use your simplest mind and see that there are lines in here and there's a pattern. Just try to understand. It cannot be that much, as you say. And as I say, it cannot be dirt only. So, who is imagining, actually? So he makes us question this. And again, the author keeps saying unhappy versus happy. And this is really, if we pay attention, listen to ourselves. Am I happy in this existence? Am I happy? Let's keep it simple, in college with my assignments, or am I content? Or I am worried what's going to happen, I am fighting with something. How do I feel? Am I feeling lonely? Or am I feeling like I have a lot of friends? In general, again, to give some statistics, college students generally feel like they have a lot of friends, especially if they are living in dorm and they can join parties, whatever. It becomes more apparent when you step out of college that actually you don't have any friends. And even when you're in college, you are surrounded with a lot of people, but within crowds, people are lonely. That's why people are communicating with their happy pictures, but they are just pictures. So you just smile at the picture, share it, and turn back to your sadness. This is how unfortunately life is. So author in here is now also questioning, where does happiness come from? Happiness comes from if you read what the existence refers to, the purpose. It must have some sort of a purpose. They are signs. They are not simply meaningless shapes. Apple is not just an apple. Banana is not just a banana. Family is not family. Society is not society. We generally take it for the sake of it. Art for the sake of art. So is it something by itself, or it has something beyond it? So this is what, out of this discussion, my take is. Belief in the unseen means taking things not as merely themselves, but as signposts. They point to something else. What that something else is, if I agree with that, just this much of it, there must be something in this paper beyond dirt, then at least I'm in a good starting position. Because kafir means, because he said it's the first person is a kafir. The first person is making a decision at the very beginning. And it's very beautiful that Qur'an starts, Surah Al-Baqarah starts with this, if you like, warning. You make a decision at the beginning. Am I going to consider it as meaningless shapes? Or am I going to consider it as there must be something beyond just dirt over this paper? This is where you make your choice. Because according to this choice, this can become a guide for you, like ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is a book. Now let's take book in there as the universe, because universe is like a book. It is, everything is a sign. So the maker of the universe says, this book is certainly going to take you to somewhere. I give you the guarantee. But it is a guide for the ones that are conscious, God conscious, muttaqin, and then says, they are those who believe in the unseen, who see that this is the signpost. It's not a sign by itself. If I take universe like that, or likewise Qur'an like that, then it will guide me to somewhere. Then it becomes a guide for me. Otherwise, it's a meaningless junk for me. Both applies to Qur'an and the existence. If I don't take it as a guidance, as people said in the history, like in the first time of revelation, or like the Orientalists said in the last century, Quran becomes a bad storybook, like Asatirul Awwalin. This is like old mythology, they said. If you don't take it as it points to something, it wouldn't be a guide for you. It would definitely be a low quality mythology book, you would say. But if you take it as, no, this points to something, it carries some message, then everything changes. Okay. We are coming to the end of it. Okay. So, oh my soul, know that we discussed these parts, but let's reiterate what the author says. Oh my soul, Know that the first man represents an unbeliever or someone depraved and heedless. In his view, the world is a house of universal mourning. All living creatures are orphans weeping at the blows of death and separation. Men and the animals are alone and without ties, being ripped apart by the talons of the appointed hour. Mighty beings like the mountains and oceans are like horrendous, lifeless corpses. This one is also very interesting. Mighty beings like the mountains and oceans are like lifeless corpses. Do you consider a mountain to be a living being? Or is it like a lifeless thing over there, a mountain? I guess a tree is a living being, since biology defines it as a living entity. A mountain is lifeless. But author says, according to believer, it shouldn't be lifeless. What do you think? Is mountains living?
I mean, they were offered a trust.
But they didn't accept.
They didn't accept.
So,
There's another prophet. There was a story about the mountain shaking. Shaking and then he tapped on it and he's like, it's not shaking.
right.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, again, this is a narration. It is like art museum is in such and such place. But can you bear witness yourself that mountain is alive?
Not from like our science classes.
Not from science classes, yeah. I guess definition of life might need to change then.
I'm thinking
Maybe.
of the meme, because I'm thinking of, we talk about like creatures that live inside of us, right? Bacteria, viruses, something. Yeah. And we're their environment. Do they see the different parts of us as being part of a living being, or is that just their environment?
Yeah.
Our lungs breathe,
Mhm.
the planet breathes.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting to think about.
Yeah.
That's what sense. And you see that meme that talked about the twins that are in the womb?
Yeah.
The two twins talking to each other, and they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know, do you believe that there's life after birth? And, I'm not really sure if I believe in a mother or not.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But that's sort of perspective.
So, for the first person's perspective, actually there is no life really in the story. Because everything is dying at the end of the day anyways. I mean, even the living beings are walking corpses. Does it matter if you
It's like
live...
it sounds like a bad zombie movie.
What's it?
The zombie movie.
Oh yeah, Walking Dead. So because it doesn't matter if you're going to die at the end of 60 years for good. Does it matter you live 10 years more or less? It's going to become zero at the end anyways. The thing that you call life, if I'm going to perish after 60, there wouldn't be an I which would say, oh, I should have lived 10 years more. It becomes zero. Everything is zero. The way I read this life in here is, it's not a dead object in there, but it speaks to me. A signpost becomes alive for me if it starts speaking to me. For example, with my untrained intellect, when I go to art museum, paintings over there are dead for me. They don't speak to me. But if I get trained in art, I will see that this artwork starts speaking to me. It tells a lot of things to me. I thought that it was just as if dead, but now it became sort of quote unquote alive. That we started this conversation with it. It tells me a lot of messages. Same with this text. If I don't know reading, this is a truly dead paper. But once you learn how to read, this text becomes like an intermediary between you and the author. It becomes alive, speaking to you a lot of things, which we have been talking for the last 1 hour. Mountains or the waves, anything in the existence becomes alive, speaking to me, telling me something. If I give my ear to them, listen to them carefully, they will start speaking to me. And going back to last week's, at the end of the discussion, we were quoting something from Rumi, who was saying that pay attention to the existence. If you give your ear to the existence, you will hear speech of God from everything. The whole existence becomes speech then, like alive. It starts speaking to you. Now all of them became signposts. They point to something else. You were saying something? No? Okay. So as for the other man, he is a believer. He recognizes and affirms Almighty God. In his view, this world is an abode where the names of the All-Merciful One are constantly recited. This is a very interesting thing. This universe becomes an abode where the names of the Creator is being constantly recited. Because, I was hearing these sort of things when I was a child. They were saying that some like pious people, like saints, hear the zikr of creation. And I was imagining, wow, these guys must be, like, their eye of heart is open, as they were saying. And I was imagining some sort of extraordinary thing, which they start hearing the trees saying Allah, Allah, sort of, or Rahman, Rahim, whatever. This is what he's saying in here, actually. He says, for a believer, everything starts reciting Rahman, Razzaq, Kareem, Jamil, beautiful, the all beautiful one. Actually, they constantly recite those names. But do I hear them? A stop sign shouts stop. But for someone who doesn't know reading, stop sign doesn't speak at all. It is just red and white shapes. But otherwise, it shouts at your face, stop here. The existence is constantly reciting. There must exist some merciful one. Just look at a cat and kitten. The relation between cat and kitten. What does it say? When you see it, you say, you observe mercy over there. But there's no mercy. Like mercy is again in the unseen, to my understanding. If you look at it from a matter, exclusively matter point of view, a bunch of like fur thing comes next to another bunch of furry thing. It's just two fur touching each other. Or a bunch of carbon hitting another bunch of carbon. But as we are human, we have some sort of other things in us. We realize that no, there's also mercy in there. This feeling of mercy is manifest in there. Mercy is not in the water that the cat drinks, is not in the food that the cat eats. Where's this mercy coming from? What makes mercy? So the cat in there, cat and kitten, is actually reciting Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, O most merciful. There must exist some sort of a merciful, otherwise this mercy wouldn't be here. This paper is reciting, there must be a wise person somewhere who has written this, right? If you look at this, to say that, mashallah, whoever has written this text must be a wise man. So this paper is really, the text over this paper praises its author, the wisdom of its author. Now, who is the author of this existence? You look at the wisdom, the order in everything. So everything that you see order says there is an orderer. There must exist an orderer. There must exist a wise author in here for this paper. And when you look at the existence, it says there must exist an orderer. So orderer is being nazam is being recited by the things in the existence 24/7. It's a continuous thing, right? This text is written once, it doesn't change over the paper. But look at this text written on my body. Constantly keeps changing. You grow, my heart's hair started getting white. It's constant change. So somebody will let it stays as it is. But nothing in the existence stays as it is. So the orderer is being recited constantly. Okay. All animal and human deaths are a demobilization. Those who have completed their duties of life depart from this transient world for another, happy and trouble-free world, so that place may be made for new officials to come and work. New officials will come to work in here. You graduate from university so that new students will come in. So it's not that you are being executed. The ones that are graduating is not being executed. They live so that new students will come and get trained. So it's a training ground. The existence is also a training ground. The birth of animals and humans marks their enlistment into the army. They are being taken under arms and the start of their duties. Each living being is a joyful, regular soldier, an honest, contented official. And in Qur'an, there are verses which mention that God's soldiers, Junudullah, soldiers of God. Everything is such a soldier. In a campus setup, we would say everything is a student of the teacher of the universe. Constantly we are learning. We are in here for training. We are to learn something. Constantly we keep learning things, right? And all voices are either glorification of God and the recitation of his names at the outset of their duties, and the thanks and rejoicing at their ceasing work, or the songs arising from their joy at working. So a lot of things in here going on, but in order to jump to the conclusion, I'm passing them quickly so you can later on think about this text for further references. Books of his most generous Lord and all compassionate owner. So we should keep asking these questions to ourselves. Do I see the existence as friends of me, or do I see them as enemies to me? When you take a microbe, a microorganism, a virus, do you take it as a friend or as an enemy? Do you take it as the official of the same provider, same teacher, same Lord as I am? Or do I take, for example, a microbe as an enemy I need to fight against? Or hardships in life, do I take them as challenges? Or take it this way, when you take an exam at Penn, professor asks you questions in the test. How do you take those questions? Do you take them as this professor, he was an arrogant one, he's trying to make fun of us? Or do you take it as professor is asking us sometimes hard, sometimes easy questions, but trying to teach us something? So you don't take, in this case, it as a challenge for you, but instead you take it as a help for you. Somebody's trying to teach you something by asking questions. Because, it would be awesome if we could learn by playing computer games, video games, but this is not how life is designed. We tend to learn by tough questions sometimes, but the one that asks tough question is not to make me fail, is to make me study and learn something out of this question. So a disease Is it a challenge, or is it a question for me to study and learn something by this disease? Sometimes he gives you a test question like a newborn baby, but sometimes he gives you a question like an assignment, like a disease. Sometimes as the death of a beloved one, sometimes as graduating from university. They are equally instructive questions, if you like. But we enjoy graduating from somewhere. And again, don't take it as a message. But we dislike somebody dying. Again, we don't take it as a message. But if I take both as a message, because sometimes he gives a message through a diploma, graduating from UPenn. Sometimes he gives it in the form of a beloved one dying. Both of them are signs and messages telling me something. So I should try to read and understand what does it mean. Okay, so he says, very many more subtle, exalted, pleasurable, and sweet truths like these become manifest and appear from his belief. So this belief in the unseen becomes a source of treasure for such a person. And now he concludes with two last sentences, and these are really important conclusion sentences. That is to say, belief in God bears the seed of what is in effect a tuba tree of the paradise, while unbelief conceals the seed of a zakum tree of hell. Just to give some background, tuba tree, in the narrations, tuba tree is the tree of paradise. And it's a tree, as it's depicted, roots are up to the sky, so it's an upside down tree. But also, zakum tree is being mentioned for the hell. So now the author is saying that these depictions are also something that you can bear witness to. So it's not like, since Prophet says so, there must exist such a tree. Sure, but Prophet says it to me so that I can verify it as well. If I ask the question, where is this tuba tree? So he says, tuba tree is, the seed of tuba tree is in everything. This, if you take things as signposts and see the meaning behind them, the purpose behind them, it will start giving you joy. Even like, for example, you take a class. In the class, professor asks you some question. At the end of 4 years, you get a diploma. Good. But all of a sudden, do you learn everything at the end of 4 years? Or every single question is actually leading you to there. So learning is an ongoing process. It's not that all of a sudden you become a computer engineer at the end of 4 years. Step by step, you were already enjoying it. You were starting to make sense. Now, let's put it this way. In this existence, step by step, in everything that I encounter, as I understand the meaning behind things, I am starting to enjoy paradise. What is paradise? Paradise is, this world becomes eternal for me. What do I mean by that? So paradise is being expressed as a place of eternal joy, something which never ends, right? But anything in this existence, butterfly dies, beautiful butterfly dies, beautiful sunset, in a few minutes, it sets and disappears. There is paradise in here. It is, everything just perishes immediately. But if I see what sunset signifies, if I see that there must exist a beautiful one who is making this art over there, sun sets, but my understanding of beautiful one doesn't set. It stays with me. So the meanings stay with you. We have been discussing this text for 1.5 hours. The text is not going to be in front of our eyes the meaning that we understood from this is going to be with us. So if you arrive to this consciousness of belief, it stays with you. And as if it opens up a window to eternity, meaning that now I'm going to use the religious term. Now it opens up a window to the merciful, the most merciful. You can always be with most merciful if you concluded with the most merciful by looking at a cat and kitten. Kitten grows up, cat dies, kitten dies. No problem. You know that the most merciful exists. There is a constant manifestation of mercy everywhere. Right there, you learn it from this cat and kitten. So you get the joy of paradise when you start living on earth. You don't have to wait until you die in order to start enjoying paradise. A very metaphorical language. When he talks about grave, he says the grave of believer, there are windows that opens to the paradise that the person is going to enter. And for the people of hell, in their grave, windows will open to the hellfire and fire will enter to their grave, right? This is how Prophet was explaining life in the grave. Life in the grave is here. The moment I am in a grave, like I cannot go past, I cannot go future, as if I get stuck. The grave is as small as my moments. Right? It's a very dark place, very limited, you cannot really move. I cannot really move. I cannot go to past, I cannot go to future in this existence. If I am a believer, from here, windows opens up to paradise. Everything becomes like a signpost, and they tell me about the merciful one, which doesn't perish, the beautiful one, which doesn't perish. Butterfly dies, but the one that paints butterfly doesn't die. Beautiful one is always there. The beauty that I liked in butterfly was coming from him. So if, for example, the author of this text was in here, and we tear down this paper, would you feel sorry? Go and ask to the man. Man is still there. I mean, the source of text is still there. So you wouldn't really feel any sorry for this text disappearing if you are 100% sure that the author is available for you, right? The author doesn't die. So realizing that the author is ever living, it's always there, is being in paradise. And a believer means he's secure and sure that the author of this existence is ever living. He doesn't die. He's always there. He is always accessible to me. On the other hand, how about the people of hell? At the moment, this is what the story was saying. Unbeliever experiences this torture every moment. Unbeliever suffers his life in this world as well, throughout the life. Maybe I'm going to die 30 years later, but if I take this existence as pointless, meaningless, I will die every day, actually. Because every moment is just going away from my hand. It's really like a torture to me. So every moment becomes as if the fire of hell blazes in my grave. So this is why really the hadith of Rasulullah is full of wisdom in there. He is really depicting me in that grave right now. Likewise, as he is talking about this tree, Tuba tree of paradise, Zakum tree of hell, author is now saying that reward and punishment that is being mentioned in the Qur'an is within the things themselves. You can find them. Are you a believer? You can find the reward within the action itself. Are you an unbeliever? You will experience 100% guaranteed the hellfire in the experience itself. Eventually, after grave, this experience would guarantee you that after the grave, more of it waits for me. Or right now, I can bear witness that. paradise exists if I'm a believer, because I'm experiencing it. If I'm an unbeliever, I bear witness that there exists hell because I am already living in a hell or hellish state. So last sentence, that means that salvation and security are only to be found in Islam and belief, in the submission and security, I would say, in which case we should continually say, praise be to God for the religion of Islam and perfect belief. Alhamdulillahi ala din al-Islam wa kamal al-Iman. Jazakallah khair. So any comments, questions before we conclude? So now, if I ask the question, to summarize, what is belief in the unseen? Anybody would like to give a definition?
Rather than seeing anything that's like just pure material, looking in depth into that and what it means, the message that it's trying to convey. This can be anything. It can be not necessarily just the material, but just like also like my finger moving. You do it every day. You don't notice it really. It just seems so natural. It just seems there. But when you start thinking about it, and the components, individual components that all come together, that's when you see the harmony. And that harmony is the message.
There must be something beyond it, right? It cannot be a finger, just a finger. It's interesting because I was talking to some high school students. We were talking about how come a baby horns and immediately starts sucking milk. And she said, well, it's a simple reflex. Just 2 words, simple reflex. As if it doesn't mean anything. Everything is explained, simple reflex. I don't know. It looks very beautiful, but now this perspective made it into as if over the paper, just dirt over the paper. No meaning. So belief in the unseen, as I understand, there must be something in here. Something is going on in here. But what is it? So this belief in the unseen is a choice that human makes at the very beginning. Am I going to choose to search for what it is, what the meaning is? Or am I going to be arrogant and say that there's no meaning, no purpose whatsoever? Live the moment, enjoy. This is why their iman and kufr is like this fork. You make your decision. And again, to say, this is not a decision you make once in your life. This is a decision we make every moment. When I see something happening, something good, I might say, now it's an option for me. Success. Am I going to take the success as success? It's my success. Success is success. Or am I going to take it as this is being given to me? The giver of success. What does he mean by that? Am I going to take it as a sign? So this is an ongoing action. So belief is not once upon a time option. It's an ongoing choice that we make. This is why Rasulullah says, renew your belief, your iman. Jaddidu imanikum bi la ilaha illallah. Why? There is no God but God. So la ilaha illallah is a process that happens again and again in life. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.